In this video, we will take a look at the first and very fundamental part of the marketing master map, which is the different steps in the customer journey. So there are 11 steps in the customer journey from a marketing lifecycle perspective. They can be grouped into 4 different groups, and they play an important role in the marketing master map because they make an appearance again and again when we're looking at the different categories. So let's take a closer look together. If you want to see it like this, the customer journey is pretty much the fundamental structure or foundation of the entire marketing master map, because what it shows us is the different steps that do exist in the what we always call the marketing life cycle. The marketing life cycle ranges from the very beginning, which is the red box, the demand generation box, where you try to create demand, you try to create spark interest with your users, along the way to converting them, making them loyal users that in the end make repeated purchases. So in that sense, the steps in the customer journey that we're looking at now are very much the structure of the entire marketing master map. So if we want to get right into it, we start with the red box, which is the demand generation box. And as the name implies, all the steps in there are around you as the brand trying to create demand. That starts with awareness, where it's essentially only about letting know people that your product even exists. Moving on to the interest stage, where a user has realized that the product exists and also gotten to the conclusion that they are interested in such kind of product. Leading on to the consideration phase, which is the last phase in the demand gen box, where it is about getting the user to the point where he or she is already considering buying or using your product. That concludes the demand generation box, and then we move on to the conversion generation. Conversion generation is about getting the user to making this first purchase, to buying something, to buy a subscription, to buy the product, whatever it is that you offer. The conversion generation starts with the evaluation phase. Evaluation phase, as the name implies, that's about where the user is evaluating your product, but also potentially competitor products in the same vertical. So it's more that the user is evaluating a specific category of products, really. Then we move on to the intent phase, where it's about the user building up a specific preference for a given product, and the commitment to buying such a product is kind of increasing already, but the user is still prone to also considering other products from competitors of yours. Leading up to the decision phase. Decision phase is really that the user has concluded that they want to purchase the product, and there's kind of a quite high level of commitment already to do that, leading up to the action, which is that first transaction that we're looking for, and that kind of concludes the conversion generation phase. After that first transaction, what we're looking at is the relationship management. In relationship management, there is 2 different steps that we would distinguish in the life cycle of a user, in the marketing life cycle. Number 1 is the repetition. The repetition is essentially just, from a very transactional standpoint, just yet another transaction, another purchase of the same product, or could also be another product from the same brand. Not necessarily exclusive to even the same brand. So at this point, a customer might actually purchase your product, but then also try out other products from competitors still. The next phase that we want to push the user to then is the loyalty phase. And in the loyalty phase, the user really becomes loyal to the brand more actually than the product. So the chances that the user still considering other products in the space is decreasing, and essentially what you have at this point is a loyal user, as the name implies. Which concludes the relationship management part and leads us on to the propagation. And in propagation, it's about converting this user that is already making repeated purchases to also talking about how they make repeated purchases and how they are in love with the product and your brand. We should split up in two subcategories, being the referral and advocacy. Referral is essentially just the customer referring the product to somebody that they know. In a lot of cases, that's incentivized, or the incentive is still needed for the user to do that, while advocacy is really the ultimate stage of any given customer for your product or brand, where the customer doesn't even have to be incentivized anymore to promote your product. They will essentially just go around and, this is like ambassador stage. They will just go around and recommend the product anyways. And those elements will, as I said, make an appearance again in the rest of the marketing master map. And the interesting part here is that there's a bit of a spectrum going on that you can also see in the map, from the amount of marketing efforts that you have to put in that are kind of ever so much decreasing from beginning to end, and also some other interesting mechanics here. So that's it for the customer journey part, for the main structure of the marketing master map. Please carry on now to the other chapters.